Hello. If you have not watched the Red versus Blue video that I post prior to this, please do so, or else you will be extremely confused or be relatively scared with what I'm about to share. We are here to discuss why red and blue is so important. And boy, will it blow your minds, because it threw me for a 3-day loop when it just popped in my head as a download earlier this year. That's why I'm here.
If you're new here, hello, my name is Savita the Starseed, and what I do on this channel is talk about anything Starseed, but a little bit more on the deeper side, as well as bring fellow Starseeds together on my show that I host called Interview with a Starseed, as well as, some short videos. I also got a TikTok, Insta, and a Twitter if you would like to follow me on those. And I also do have a merch store with a bunch of cool little designs on it. So thank you for coming over to the channel, and I hope you enjoy this video.
So in the video that you already watched, we already came to the agreement that blue is like ethereal and red is the physical reality. And you already knew that I was seeing red a lot before, and it was alarming, and I was like, why? And then I see blue, and then slowly it comes together, but it took like 1.5 years to fully understand what was going on. The movie came out to the theaters. I never understood why I gravitated towards this thing so much. The movie in 2004 has to do with the cartoon that we see on my shirt, this adorable little yellow sponge right here. And yes, I'm talking about the SpongeBob SquarePants movie from 2004. I was just trying to figure out red versus blue, and I was like, you know what, let me just calm myself down. Let me just dive into my inner child. So I was watching it, and I was just like, oh wow, I haven't seen this movie in a little bit. Like I watched it a lot to the point where I can literally recite the whole movie by dialogue and sound effect. But now I understand why. So I was just watching the movie, and a particular scene just triggered something up here, and I got a fat download for what I can say can reassure us Starseeds that there is something going on in the bigger picture. And hopefully you love this just as much as I do. Well, now that you know the concept of red versus blue, what does it have to do with this film? The movie starts with, of course, the pirates singing whatever. So they get to the movie theater, they sit down and they start watching the movie. It opens up with SpongeBob's dream. He wakes up from the dream. Gary, I had that dream again, and it's finally gonna come true today. Because today is the grand opening ceremony of the Krusty Krab 2. The Krusty Krab 2 represents Earth 2.0. And again, you watch my red versus blue, so you're gonna totally understand this, right? The Krusty Krab's letters are red, and that's physical. We got the normal Krusty Krab, which is old Earth, and then Krusty Krab 2, which is Earth 2.0, which is what we're aiming for. Mr. Krabs is having an interview from Perch Perkins, right? And you just see Plankton from beyond spying on them, feeling jealous and envious. Plankton represents the Liz. They're green, yellow eyes, and they work with advanced technologies, aka his computer wife, right? And he's really mad, and then Karen's like, what about Plan Z? Whatever. He whips out a folder with Plan Z, which is red, to represent like an evil change to the physical realm. That the Reptilians found this evil plan, or thought of an evil plan to mess with the physical. Plankton's thinking of an evil scheme to mess with Mr. Krabs, and it's like, okay, but who the hell's Mr. Krabs? So what does Mr. Krabs represent? Well, keep in mind the red and blue thing. Mr. Krabs is red and blue. The balance between the physical and the ethereal. The old Earth had the balance of physical and ethereal, and they were getting ready to transcend to the new Earth. But they were stopped, because remember in the movie he was frozen, because of an evil entity, Plankton. You get the gist. We're gonna get even deeper. Mr. Krabs again represents the balance between science and spirit, the physical and the ethereal. What happened? Well, what did Plankton do in the movie? He thought of an evil scheme for the physical reality with that Red Sea. And he stole something from King Neptune, right? He stole the crown from King Neptune. What's the crown and who's King Neptune? King Neptune, remember, he was wearing all red. And he represented humanity as a whole. Well, what's the crown? The crown is like the knowledge of truth. Plankton steals the truth, aka why we're really here. How history was rewritten, that's what he stole from King Neptune. King Neptune freaks out. Plankton pins it on Mr. Krabs. King Neptune barges in like the next day, freaking out because his crown's stolen. He goes into the Krusty Krab, pointing fingers at Mr. Krabs because again, he's framed. Mr. Krabs is frozen. So now the balance between science and spirit cannot happen because the knowledge of truth of humanity is not aware, which is what was going on now. The Matrix was being built. People were being suppressed from their true potentials, and hopefully this is making sense. This is the point of the movie where it honestly creeped me out. So we have Mindy, King Neptune's daughter. The relation isn't important. What is important is the fact that she's got blue hair and she's gentle and loving, just like blue beings would be, right? Just like spirit guides would be, right? So that's what she would represent, is the ethereal realm that's assisting in the change. So we have King Neptune, again, the rest of humanity lost, and you have Mindy, which is our ethereal beings, the light workers and the starseeds and the guides and the Galactic Federation helping us, SpongeBob and Patrick Star, which would be the star seeds. Like, it's kind of like a giveaway in there. You got to go to Shell City, basically, is what they came down to. And what's Shell City? Because she says in this moment right here that the road to Shell City is really dangerous. Crooks, killers, and monsters everywhere. People that want to deceive you, put you down. What she says after that is that there's a giant cyclops that guards the outskirts of the city and preys on innocent sea creatures. That's like the overall seeing eye, like the one that's watching you, or the team. Don't let them catch you, because if they do, they take you back to their lair and you'll never be seen again. Like, you see how I'm combining the dialogues here? Mindy hands SpongeBob a magical bag of winds, which is like the winds of change, okay? So she's like, here, take this. He says, once you find the crown, open the bag of winds and you'll be blown back home. And as soon as she finished that entire sentence, my jaw hit the floor because the download popped in and I was like, oh my God, this is a message. That we have to find what the knowledge of truth is, whatever physical proof we can get to the rest of society to understand the big picture here. This is to support us in our movement, the overall Starseed movement. So I thought it was really interesting. When they get to the abyss where the monsters are, which represents shadow work, by the way, at that point, Plankton, he starts noticing they're going after the crown, and he was working with his technology Karen to try and stop the two from getting the knowledge of truth back. Who does he send after SpongeBob and Pat to try and sabotage them from getting the crown? Do you guys remember the dude on the motorcycle? Dennis, who's wearing all black and black shades, all tough and all that stuff, who happens to wear a red bandana. Like, I took that like, hey, man in black, like physical human being, because again, red is physical. And it's just like, whoa, like there was symbolism in that. So Plankton sends the men in black after SpongeBob and Pat. So again, now no, you should have watched my red and blue video. You understand how red just came up out of nowhere in my life, right? And that it was chasing me everywhere. This is the part of the movie that made me completely convinced that this is literally what's going on here. If you remember, they try to stop for ice cream on their journey when they get the paddy wagon back from the guy that stole it from them at the bar. They go and get ice cream, whatever, and then out pops this big red monster and chases them to get them to go through their shadow work. Was the same thing as me seeing the red.
I'm finding more and more symbolism. I go 30 seconds and find a message. 30 seconds, find a message. Like, just watch this. SpongeBob's, on a journey. I'm on a journey. And I see a ton of red. And I'm here like, there's so much red. I don't know what it means.
It's like all the red chasing me in the past year and a half.
Why is this so relatable? It's like, look at the red! And I'm like, oh my God, there's so much red!
So while SpongeBob and Patrick are on their adventure, Squidward realizes that some shit's up, and he is correct, as mass control is going on thanks to Plankton, and may I include that CB for Chumbucket is red, which indicates he has control over the physical with the citizens of Bikini Bottom. So while Squidward is onto his stuff, what does Plankton do? He activates the mind control devices, which is easily the dark side using media to control life here on Earth. This is insane, guys. It's right here in plain sight. So at this point, back to SpongeBob and Pat, Mindy shows up and catches them up with all the stuff that's been going on, and as you can see, the Matrix has been built. Plankton is forcing people to work hard as slaves. According to SpongeBob, he said this himself. This is mad symbolism, guys. And then we think, well, why can't humanity do anything? Remember, King Neptune, he's distracted, and he doesn't know the power that he had in the first place. So anyways, after this scene,
they go through their shadow work, they feel confident, and then they come in contact with Dennis. So this is the part where I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen next, but at least with getting the message out there is the first start. Dennis comes by, he tries to stop him, but no, the Cyclops stops Dennis. And the Cyclops stops SpongeBob and Pat and captures them and brings them to Shell City. Honestly, who knows what that represents, but at least with the fact that they came in contact with the Men in Black period, and they ended up going to this place of disclosure, right? If you recall, and you can watch the movie after this and you'll be like, oh my god. But when they're captured, they're in Shell City, they notice that the diver has a bunch of experimented dead sea lives around him, so it could be something evil that people need to know about, like maybe it is an actual secret location. But regardless, SpongeBob says at one point in that scene that he is pulling out his evil instruments of torture. A lot of people think that there are locations on the planet, whether it's the SSP or some other location, that people are either cloned or experimented or something, but a lot of people are feeling that way, that there are secret things that who knows what they're for, but people are apparently captured and sent to different locations to be experimented on because of stuff like this. Eventually, their love, aka that teardrop that was shaped like a heart, they rebuild their confidence, they rebuild their strength, and they find the crown at Shell City, and they take it and they ride Hasselhoff back, who is still wearing red swim trunks to portray the physical symbolism. So King Neptune pulls up and he's about to completely destroy Mr. Krabs, meaning like humanity is literally going to destroy the earth. But an intervention occurs, which is the crown coming back to humanity, the crown coming back to King Neptune. The end scene to this movie, Plankton tries one more time. He throws the bucket on King Neptune for mass control of humanity one more time. Could be that, or
even while editing this freaking video, I noticed more and more clues. So while the Matrix was being built, y'all have seen my red versus blue video, so you already know I see a lot of 13s, and there's a red 13 on that calendar with a blue March text. And March is the third month of the year, and I see a lot of 313s, 333s, etc. So that's also the date, is 313. And if you look up some interesting stuff that happened in history, a lot of shit happens to go down in March, like pandemics and UFO incidents. And let me also mention that Plankton here is witnessing humanity, which is King Neptune destroying the balance of red and blue, Mr. Krabs. But take a look at his pants. You see blue while he's eating out of a popcorn bucket that has red on it, meaning he's feeding off of the physical and enjoying these catastrophic events from the ethereal. And may I also include that SpongeBob's socks have red and blue stripes on it, and Sandy and Mrs. Puff's outfit, and Larry. So yeah, at this point, red and blue is pretty dominant, as well as the pattern on Gary's shell.
SpongeBob ends up finding the light inside himself, and he starts singing. If you remember that end track that he starts singing, and he turns into a wizard, and he's got this electric guitar that shoots off like lasers, seem to basically show that when we find our light within ourselves, that we are able to literally take the light and shed the truth on people. And what was SpongeBob doing in that scene? He had that guitar lit up. He lit that guitar and he was zapping the buckets off. shedding the light on people, exposing the truth and wiping the veil off so they can see that shit. That end scene, I was like, oh my God, this whole movie was mad symbolism. Go back through and watch it. Once SpongeBob zaps the buckets off, everyone's happy, everyone's vibing, everyone's feeling better, and they got their strength back, and they don't have their worries anymore, and things can be better now, and now the Krusty Krab 2 can be officially opened, and all of that jazz, and Plankton gets sent away forever, in theory. That's basically why the red and blue message was so important, because it all started with this little sponge airing in 1999, and with the movie in 2004, and then the dream in 2009 that I had, and then COVID ended up happening, and the Starseed's awakening, and the falling down the Starseed rabbit hole, and learning who we are and why we're here, and then having memories and remembering, and then connecting the dream to this current point of life, and then how it fumbled into rewatching this and having the downloads. But that wouldn't have been possible had that big red fish not been following my ass. That big red fish, guys, it's crazy. But at the end of the day, this movie shows that whatever the crown may be, whatever the knowledge of truth may be, that we can bring it to society and bring the light back. That's what this shit was saying right here. So hopefully that was mind-blowing. There are some things that you realize when you reflect back on things that meant the most to you, and you realize why. And you need to dive through what you gravitate towards or gravitated towards, because there might be some deep messages in there that the rest of society needs to hear from you. Again, no such things as coincidences. Absolutely none. We gotta get the crown, save the town, and Mr. Krabs. Remember, he gets unfrozen and the balance of red and blue is restored. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to share this, because a lot of people love this sponge. A lot of people loved this film. Even people that aren't in tune with spirituality, they loved this film, and it's just a message that the world needs to hear. So it's like, who knows? Maybe the whole world sees it and they hear this and they're just like, oh, it makes sense, and we're good. It's just important that I had to get this out there. There's a reason why lots of people can resonate with that cartoon, why the memes are popular. How is this sponge portrayed? Like, there's tons of stuff all over the world with him like this, like just being loving, and there was a reason why people gravitated towards him when they were younger. I'm a goofball. I should have said Goofy Goober, but I didn't design these. That's the cracked code of red versus blue that ties into the 2004 SpongeBob film. So let's get the crown, save the town, and Mr. Krabs.